Welcome to Theater Crafts, where we take theater memorabilia and make brand new treasures. So today we're going to make something that can personalize your clothing or personalize a bag that you have. Today we're going to make buttons. We're going to take theater images, look at this, and make buttons. So I've sewn some onto this piece of fabric so you could just see what it looks like. So you've got obviously Hadestown here, we have Evita, we have Great Comet, and these are made using resin and images right out of theater programs. I've got a couple more here. I've got 6. We've got Phantom right here. And how about Kinky Boots? Here's a Kinky Boots. So today we are going to take theater images, or you could take images from anything that you have that really inspires you, and we're going to make buttons. All right, let's get crafting. Let's take a look at these a little bit more closely. So I've learned a lot from creating these. You've got, like, say, Evita. We've got, see, Phantom. We've got Kinky Boots here in the Share Show. Got Great Comet and 6. And these were all created, I'm trying to get the glare off for you. So these were all created, obviously, using just images, something like this, out of catalogs. And the challenge is you've got to be careful. So, like, looking here at Great Comet, obviously there are the holes for the buttons. So you want to be careful where you place those. For example, I have some that were not as successful here. And this is from Wicked, obviously, and the holes are right in Elphaba's face. So that feels not quite as successful. And so I'll show you some of my other not so successful buttons as we kind of go through the process here. But I actually love these. I think these would really dress up. A blazer would be really fun, or if you have a sweater with a single button, you could put something like that on there. Or like if you have, I don't know, a bag that you replace a button and put your favorite show on. I just love the idea of these. And they're pretty easy to make. So let me clear the space and I will show you how to make them. Okay, so for some of the items you need for this, we've got obviously our resin. I actually like this resin because you don't need to mix it. It's already mixed for you and it cures very quickly. Obviously you will use your UV lamp. I've got mine right here. I'm using a cup and a paper plate just to put the buttons on while I'm curing them when they're outside of the mold. I'll talk about that in a little bit. Cup to mix the resin with the color that you're going to add to the resin. So, like, for example, let me show you, like on the back of this Kinky Boots, I've got white resin on the back of that. So color. Now, I chose to use white. Some of them I have black on them. And so you see, like, black on the back of the Share Show. And I'll talk about the different layering and what I've discovered in the layering. You need, obviously, your button mold. You can get these molds just about anywhere now. They're really readily available in craft stores. I got this version online on Amazon. It was pretty inexpensive, so that is an option. Your hole punch, and you want your hole punch to be the size. So this one is the size of the largest button there. It's just about the same size. I found that in the smaller buttons, because you have the holes in there for actually sewing the button onto the garment, it will disrupt the image a little bit too much. So I'm going with the larger ones here. And then I have a punch. I found it a little bit easier for to punch out, instead of trying to punch those individual holes there. Punching out one solid piece, and then it would go around those. Sorry, my camera just dropped. Sorry about that. Here we go. I also cut out an image. I cut out an image that was just a plain one that matches that. And then I found the center, and I used this as a guide for cutting out the others. And I'll show you how I'm going to do that in a moment. And then I'm going to use this. I've literally had this since 2020. That's how long I've had it. But look at all those great images on the inside here. So I'm going to cut out one of these images, and I will use that for the button we're going to do today. All right, so let me clear this and we'll get ready. Okay, so I just cut out the image that I'm going to do. I'd cut it right out of that catalog. And I'm going to do Hadestown. And I thought that like the middle where the you thread it will go right over where his hand is. And I feel like that saves the title and keeps the rows, which I really like. So literally this is a hole punch, standard hole punch. And I like to put it upside down just so that I can see where I'm punching and try to get that right in the middle there. I get really... Whoop. All right, so there it is right there. And then I'm going to take this image and I'm going to put it right over the center, and that so that I know where to punch out for the threads. And just so you know how I figured that out, I actually took the circle, and I put a Sharpie on the edges here, and I put the circle on top, and then found where that was, and then punched that out. That's how I figured that out, and it works beautifully. So there we go. So now, typically when you're using resin, you would use gloves. My hands are not going to touch the resin at all in this process, so I've been using a toothpick just to kind of move things around. So I'm going to take, and on some, I just want to point out, on some of these, I actually put glitter on the end, on the sides, and it's actually not even really glitter. I put, it's makeup. I had a makeup palette that I used, and on this one here, I actually used just kind of a standard gold eyeshadow. But then some of them I just used regular, just the resin without any coloring on the side. But you could color it, whatever works for you. All right, so now you're going to take the resin, and I just found that going around the edge and letting it kind of seep in. And it's, of course, it's important that you get all of this covered, because you would have whole pockets with holes, and that would not go, that would not look good. And that happened on a couple of them. There was a way to fix it after the fact, and I can show you that if it happens, because you just never know sometimes with resin. Okay, just making sure that that is completely covered. And then you want to take your image and you want to flip it upside down, because the front side is actually the bottom. So you're going to put that right in, and you want to move those out of the way a little bit, and then you're going to push this down, and it can be a little persnickety. It's a little bit, there we go. Okay, now I discovered this, you're learning from my mistakes. So I've pushed that down, but notice some of this resin seeped out. I found that, let me show you one that happened to. Okay, so this one is Wizard of Oz, and you can see the bright yellow here. That's where the resin seeped out, and I didn't cover it. And the dark is actually the black from the resin in the back. So it's really important that you actually cover the back of this with more resin, so that the color of the background doesn't seep in and affect the image underneath. I don't know if that makes sense. But I found that that happened several times in some of my practice buttons. And so you really want to make sure that it goes all the way to the edge, so that it covers that. Then you're going to put I put it in for a couple of minutes, and let me just kind of review that so that you see what I'm talking about. So again, let me show you what I'm talking about here. So this happened in this one too. See, it's rent, and you see the bright white areas. That's where the resin was, and the dark areas on the white section, that's where I didn't cover it with the resin on the top, and so the black actually discolored the paper. So if you do it this way, then you can put any color on the back and it won't discolor it. Let's see if I did several that happened. Even with grease, you can see that happened a little bit here. And actually it's really evident here. So I did 2 versions of 6. So this one here, I did not put the resin on the back, and you can see how the black seeped through. This one I actually did. I did put white on the back though, so you can see it's a little bit, it's much clearer. So just something to think about. So we're going to let this go for a couple minutes. We're going to cure it. I actually will probably do it for a total of 3 minutes, and then we'll move to the next step. Okay, so I've cured it for 3 minutes. You can see there, it looks pretty good. So next I'm going to mix up some of the resin for the back, and I'm going to add white to the back, and literally just going to add not a ton of resin to the cup, and I'm going to put white. So these are coloring for resin, and you can put many different colors. I have, they come usually in packages. I'm just going to put 2 drops in there. I found that was opaque enough for my liking. And I'm going to just mix that up. And you could put the colors based on the colors in the image. That would look really cool. So just mix it until it's completely combined. And then I just poured it in, and just slowly pouring it around. You'll see. This is where the toothpick really comes in handy. You can just kind of move it to the edges. You don't want it to be too filled, because it will go over the edge. And you can always sand it down, which happened with a couple of mine. Just make sure that that's all filled in. You could add designs in the back too. That would be really cool. Make sure those bubbles, got a little bubble in there, so you want to make sure those bubbles are out. Well, there you go. All right, and then again, I'm going to put that for 3 minutes underneath the lamp. 3 minutes have passed, and here we go. Let's see what it looks like. See how easy it is to pop out? It's amazing. Ooh. All right, so we got a little bit of kind of overlap. I don't know if you can see it there. Literally just take a nail file, an emery board nail file, and just file that down. If you find that the back is a little bumpy, I have found that on a couple of mine. You can just take this and file it down to make it nice and even. And then just take more of the resin and make that a little bit more kind of shiny and flat. you certainly can do that. So I find that, I don't know if you can see, it's not quite as shiny as I'd like on the top. So I'm going to add a little bit of resin on the top. So I've got a cup here, take my resin, just a little bit, you don't need a ton, just to add a little coat on the top of it, just to kind of shine that up a little bit. Again, using my toothpick and just an inexpensive brush. And then I'm going to use my toothpick and hold that down in one of the holes, and then just kind of lightly coat it just to give it kind of that shiny finish that we like on the top of the button. And not going over the holes. Obviously, you don't want to clog those holes because that would be a problem. And you might want to just kind of turn it around just to see if you got all of it covered. That looks nice and shiny. That looks pretty good. And I'm going to put that back underneath the lamp for a couple of minutes. I have left it under for 3 minutes, and let's see what it looks like. Look at that. There we go. There is Hadestown. Now you could, actually, this would have been actually cool if I had put the color of what his hand looked like as the back color. To cover that. That would have been actually cool. Or I could have done like kind of the grayish to go along with that. That, in hindsight, that probably would have been really cool. But I just think that's great. And again, you could, if you wanted to, do another layer on the back here, just to, where we sanded it down. But it actually, I think it looks pretty good. I just love these. I just think these are so fun to, kind of update a look that you've got or make something personalized. There we go. There are some really fun musical theater buttons just to personalize your outfits. So I hope you give this a try. Let me know if you do. Please send pictures. I'd love to see them. And thank you for joining me for this week's Theater Craft. I will see you next week. Have a great week, everyone. Bye.